All right, so save all your F-bombs for later, all right?
What the?
So thanks for joining. We have a special guest that's going to be going through Zach Griffin from Grouse. Thank you for joining, Zach. And I know it's been a while since we had a club meeting, and so thank you all for joining. Awesome. And but before we do that, I just wanted to run through a couple of kind of noteworthy things going on these days, and feel and it's always a open forum, right? So feel free to ask questions or provide your input. The more input on these meetings, especially since we're not face to face, I know that's kind of hard sometimes. But feel free to interject whenever. Tell me to shut the fuck up, whatever. I don't care. So we haven't had any meetings for a while, right? So I'm going to try to do this bi-monthly moving forwards, and hopefully that works out. Um, there's actually Hey, Peter, since you're here and it's midnight. So Peter Fold is in Hungary. You guys think you guys are hardcore, right? He's in Hungary. What time is it in Hungary right now, Peter?
Yeah, it's midnight, as you said.
Midnight. That's dedicated, right? So I want to give you just a moment to talk about what we're going to have on the March club meeting. So if you want to just give a real brief kind of talking points about what you've got going on, and then we're going to have a further discussion about what Peter's doing in the March meeting. So go for it, Peter.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm just planning to talk a bit about malting. As some of you might know, I make my own malt and got some experience in that, so I'd like to share that with you. And I'm also working on this malting machine, so I'll briefly talk about that a bit maybe as well.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. So maybe I'll try to work around your time a little bit better so that you don't have to do it at
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's okay. Maybe if it's a bit earlier,
okay.
that'd be nice. But I can, of course, most of you are in North America, so I have
I
to
yeah.
adapt.
I just selfishly do it because I like to start drinking beer at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, so that's the only reason why we scheduled this
Yeah,
then. So
yeah, that's a great
yeah.
time. That's a great time. And I hope you guys are interested in malting. So, I mean, Kale and Stuart, we kind of, I mean, we just discussed this a bit, and
I think I lost you, Peter. All right. Well, if your audio comes back, we can get back to you, but let's just move on a couple of things. So the other couple of things I wanted to mention is there was kind of the most talked about thing on the Facebook page was this Penn State Andrew Ledley deal that GC Grant down in Australia had mentioned, which I didn't notice when there was a Brew Lab podcast, if you hadn't heard, right? And so that was with the Brewlosophy. I think his name's Cade, who does that podcast. Who had this gentleman named Andrew Ledley from Penn State. I think he's a graduate student. Talking about this mash technique for gluten-free grains. There's an article that I linked to in the kind of comments on that post that GC put on there. Bottom line is that there's this process that they have said they're trying to patent called the XGM decoction mash procedure. Um, People that have been doing this for a long time would probably know that's just kind of, I don't know how to put it without cursing, but it's been something that's been done and written about, I think, for a very long time. Andrew Lavery, there's information that's posted on even like gluten-free home brewing out there. And if you look at some of the articles, the article that's in the Penn State, it's kind of like just it basically says all the current gluten-free beers kind of all suck, right, and taste like crap, right? And we're gonna find a way to make it taste way better where they're also mashing. So, anyways, it's kind of a TBD about what's going on with that. The thing that made, I think, Grant so upset was this application for a patent. I'm not sure what they're trying
Yeah.
to patent. Whether that's like a mashing procedure, that doesn't seem like something you can patent.
I think that is what they're trying to patent. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that. I'll open the forum for a minute on that.
Good luck. That's my thought. Good luck trying to patent anything that requires just heating water and throwing malt in it. I mean, like literally, like there is literally nothing to patent here because this is already common knowledge. Because brewers in Africa have been doing this for millennia. You don't think that they realize that they weren't gelatinizing their grain at the lower steeping temperatures that barley has? Like, I think the phrase that you were looking for, Kale, is actually, that's rich. That's rich.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to use a different word, but thank you for that.
I mean, I agree. It seems outlandish, but I believe there are other mashing techniques in the past that have been patented for what it's worth. I mean, I tend to think most patents are a little bit BS, especially the length of time that they're granted these days. But for what it's worth, there are patented processes in the brewing industry.
So the bottom line is, before you guys do any kind of mashing where you're not using any enzymes and decoction mashing, you need to send an email to Penn State before you do that. Okay. Just kidding.
Yeah.
So we'll move on from there. We don't need to talk about that too much, right? So the other thing I wanted to mention is Stuart, who I don't think, he said he couldn't be on because of some other commitments. He started doing these awesome style guideline posts that he's posting both on the Facebook page and into the wiki. If you don't know about the wiki or haven't gone there before, it's awesome. He's put in a tremendous amount of work to collate every kind of piece of information you could ever think of on dedicated gluten-free brewing, and recipes, styles, grains, I mean, everything, right? And 101, how to do your first gluten-free brew. Go there, look at that. It's links to all sorts of resources that we've had through like the history of the club. It's almost a way of kind of collating all these things you can never find on Facebook. So it's really cool. So I recommend that. But back to the style guidelines. So the first one was millet wine, and he wanted me to mention that he has another one that's in the pipeline that he's going to post really soon. He's just waiting a little bit of more feedback to post that next style guideline. And he's going to continue to do those over the next several months. So I thought that's real cool. The last one is just the kind of club stats. Right now, there's over 1,500 members, which is pretty cool. The top countries are the US, Australia, Canada, UK, and Brazil. I think that's kind of falls in line with what we see on who's posting and whatnot. And it looks like we have some new faces on this meeting, which is awesome. We haven't had one for such a long time. I think I see someone in Hawaii on a beach, which makes me very upset. But that's awesome. Thanks for joining. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for joining, Derek. And who else do we have on here that's nerve on? Okay, so I'm gonna have to try to pronounce your name. Is it Eon? No? Did I miss it?
Owen.
Owen.
Yeah, pronounce it like Owen.
Owen, and just so, and you are located in, where are you located?
Luxembourg. I'm Irish, but I'm located in Luxembourg.
Okay, and so it's like super late there now, right, too?
It's after midnight here, yeah.
Thank you for joining at such a late hour. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's okay. I'm interested, so I figured I might as well show a bit of commitment.
And that's all the topics I had, other than getting to our guest speaker. And so again, I wanted to welcome Zach Griffin from Grouse Malthouse. I'm not going to steal your thunder, but if you could just tell us maybe a little bit about your role at Grouse. How did you end up working there? how long have you worked there, your different roles through your time there. Maybe give us a high level about that before you get into your presentation. That'd be awesome.
Sure. Thanks for that. Hello, everyone. My name is Zach. I work at Grouse. I've been there for about 4 years now. Started out in production, just doing packaging, doing the part of the malting process, and eventually I moved into quality so when I was hired, there was 4 of us in total, whole company, and now we're at about, I think, 12 now, which, that doesn't sound like a lot, but comparatively it is quite a bit. So I've kind of moved into more of a quality role where my job is to follow every batch through the process, make sure that at every step it is doing the stuff that it is supposed to be doing, and that we're releasing products that we feel good about. That, when you read our product descriptions, part of my job is to make sure what we sell you is like, that is what that is, right? We're trying to be consistent, be transparent in that way, and make sure you're getting a good quality product. So that's what I'm doing now, and then I'm doing a little bit of R&D brewing on the side, and that's kind of the point of that, is to kind of help our customers or future current customers kind of figure out how to use our grain in the best way so that they can succeed. Because a lot of people get into the gluten-free brewing world, and I guess they feel pretty intimidated by it, because it's just not, they've never brewed before, or they're used to barley, and so they're trying to make that transition. And so we're trying to make that as smooth as possible. So, for example, on our blog post, I posted a porter recipe, just the percentages of the malt and hops and yeast, and some recommendations there. So that'd be kind of an example of things that I'm doing there. And you can hear me okay, right?
Yeah, I can hear you great. Everyone else?
Great.
Any issue? Okay.
As long as some people can hear me. Okay, great, cool. So Grouse is gluten-free malt house in Wellington. So we're doing millet, buckwheat, corn, and then we also source quinoa and oats. So I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about Grouse itself, and kind of new products that you might have seen on Gluten-Free Homebrewer or our website, and kind of what we got in the works down the line. So we'll get started on that. So this is kind of, I talked about this a little bit. So, my title is quality manager. So, what is quality? This is kind of just a definition of quality in this context that was told to me in school, because QA QC is pretty big role in fermentation, obviously. So, and like I said, part of my job is to make sure the descriptors that we advertise on our list is what you're actually getting. So particularly on Gluten-Free Homebrewer, but also on our blog, if you follow, or social media, if you follow us there, you'll see we have a couple of new products. So I'll just kind of go through these, and so you can kind of understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, how you might use them. So first one up is our Griffin Millet Malt. So this is, so as some of you might know, we have a caramel 90 roast. And so this is cool, because this is the same color as that, but it's not roasted. It's all kilned. And when you put them next to each other, they're actually quite different. It's really fascinating that kind of, the roasting element brings different aspects to it. So how we did it was we just utilized higher kiln temperatures to achieve a 90 SRM unroasted malt. So you kind of got some aromas of plum, toffee, sugar, chocolate in there. The utilization is kind of a question mark, because it's a pretty new product. I used it, 10-15%, kind of like your darker malts, but I'd be excited to hear how other people use it. And so kind of just some, recommended styles down there. And speaking of millet wine, it's what I got right here, actually. So cheers there. And it's really cool because this malt brings that really kind of black. You can see it looks black, but it's actually a really deep, dark red. So if that's something you're looking for, this is great for that.
Did you? Oh, hold on,
So we had
Zach.
a
Hold
lot
on,
of.
Zach. Hold on, Zach. I gotta ask. Did you name
Sorry,
that
yeah.
out? Did you name that one after yourself?
No, actually,
Where does the name come from?
I wanted to name it Blackbird because some blackbirds, because our whole like Grouse's whole theme is kind of like birds. Like a lot of our malts or our equipment is named after birds, and there are blackbirds that have a black kind of body and then red tipped wings. And I thought, oh, it's kind of a black but red malt. That's what I'll call it. And Twyla, the owner, she's like, we should call it Griffin Malt because I like helped develop that recipe. And I was like, okay, I don't need to argue that. You can name it after me if you want. That's cool. So yeah, I didn't name it, but I'll take it.
Nice.
Yeah. So so we had a lot of requests, and in barley you see a couple different Munich malts, and we have a Munich malt that you can kind of use as a base, you know, for kind of Marzens and stuff like that. But we wanted to make a darker Munich, and when I say darker, I mean you can see in the picture this is about kind of 8 to 10 SRM, so it's not crazy dark. You could probably still use it as a base. And basically we just took our Munich and kind of bumped up the heat and the time, and to develop this really develops that biscuit toast nutty kind of aromas. So like an ESB this would be really great in, but I just set down there most styles including German and Belgian styles. And yeah, I mean there's absolutely no reason you couldn't use this up to 100% if you really wanted that malt forward beer. So, and then these are kind of in a grouping. So we released 3 roasts, and basically these are our Vienna malt that we make normally, and then we just kind of roasted them to various specifications. So this one, for example, is our medium, and it's the same color range as our medium roast, but that is a pale base. So you get some different aromas, flavors there. And so basically the goal of these is to give you those Vienna flavors, but kind of change it with that heat exposure. So you get a lot more of that toast kind of toffee aromas.
Zach, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
For the darker Vienna and Munich roasts, are those like a similar PPG to the base Vienna and Munich, or are they like slightly lower from the more intense like roasting?
Right. No, that's totally fair. So generally speaking, our roasts are, so for example, our Munich would be about a 10 or a 1.032, you know, in there kind of. And our roast stick within, I'd say 2 points below that until you kind of get to the you know, I'd say the dark roast, the dark Vienna, and that's kind of where you're going to see that a little bit of decrease. So more like in the 1024, 1026. So you're still getting some fermentable sugars there, but the drop is so negligible, you know, because generally speaking, you're only going to use those in like small percentages.
And this is with exogenous enzymes, or is this with endogenous enzymes that you're getting this reading?
That would be exogenous, yeah.
And have you used every single enzyme cocktail, or is this a proprietary blend that Grouse uses? Because I was looking at your 2018 research,
yeah,
and you guys featured a glucoamylase that actually almost no, you know, like no homebrewers that I'm aware of use. I know that there's maybe 1 or 2, you know, breweries that are using that specific cocktail. A lot of people are using Termamil, but not a lot of people are using AMG 300. So I was kind of curious what actual enzymes you're using to get these readings.
Right, sure. So yeah, primarily we looked at Termamil serum back then, like you said, Termamil, and then a glucoamylase, the AMG. And then after that, we saw, you know, kind of that shift that what you were alluding to is this shift in what enzymes people were using. So we started doing some research with Ceramix and some with Ondia Pro as well.
Okay, and this is with just single enzyme or the enzyme cocktail of both Ondia and Ceramix?
So generally speaking, our numbers that we report to people are based solely on Ceramix. but we have some. So what that
Well,
study
you kind of don't necessarily need Ondia when you're using a millet because of the high quantities and activity of limit dextranase at specific temperatures and pHs. So I could totally see the reason for that. Is it a rising typically with ceramics, or is it a single infusion or a falling? What
so
do
we
you?
did, and this is something I really want to publish soon because we did a lot more research on these mash regimes that we don't have on our blog, kind of a follow-up post to what you're referring to. But so typically right now I recommend to people a ceramics rising, but we did study with falling as well because we realized that depending on your equipment restrictions, you may not be able to do one or the other. I've talked to people who can't do one or the other, so they want to know, how detrimental that's going to be.
True. No, I mean, I see it a lot. I mean, in fact, Alan Windhausen is one of the key editors for the book that we're writing, that I'm writing with Brewers Publications.
Mhm.
And, just even mentioning the decantation mash, he had a very long comment on the decantation mash, basically stating that it is almost cost prohibitive and almost impossible to do at scale, right? Which is a really interesting consideration when you look at it, quote unquote, in Ledley's words, novel method, where it's like, okay, well, are we also going to create novel brew houses that can brew specifically to this method?
Yeah. It's like,
so kind of interesting, because on small batch, rising is no problem for us. Not a lot of a problem for very many home brewers, probably a lot of the people that are on this call. But going at scale and then also throughput, right? Like, do I want to have a 2-hour mash or do I want to have a 1-hour mash? Do I want to have a 4-hour mash? Right. A lot of these are, it just really depends on the system.
Jesse. Yeah. So, and we have had a little bit of, we've had some customers actually use ceramics in a single infusion mash, and they said they've had success. Now I don't have the data. Like, they don't usually provide us with all their data and their numbers and stuff. So when they say success, I don't truly know what that means,
Did it make beer? Sounds like a success to me.
Right. Well, and some of them weren't using enzymes before at all. And I'm like, well, of course it was better with enzymes, but
true. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of to wrap that up, there's definitely some, a lot more mash research that we've done with some independent labs that we would like to publish in the future, and that I think will kind of answer some of those questions and probably raise more. But
we'll have to have you back for our yearly gluten-free mashing meeting. Zach.
Oh yeah, right. For sure. Okay, cool. So right, so back to the let's see, this says chocolate Vienna, right? So this is basically our chocolate roast, very similar, right? You still get those chocolate notes, but you kind of get some different depth there. So, I put caramelized brown sugar and toasted crackers. So really this is going to be more of a bready focused version of our chocolate roast. And I say, these utilizations I'm putting here are very subject to change. And the reason I'll get to why that is a little bit later. And then finally, a little blurry. Finally, the dark Vienna roast. So again, same specs as our dark millet, our pale dark millet, but this one you gotta get some of those kind of more nutty, woody characters, which is really cool. And again, with the utilization up to 5%, that's kind of what I tell people, because we have a lot of people who complain about, oh, I wanted to make a dark beer, but then I did and it tasted burnt or acrid or ashy or whatever. So that's why I caution people, maybe don't use more than 5%, be careful with that. Let's see. Cool. Okay. So yeah, this one's fun. So, we make buckwheat, right? We malt buckwheat, and that is really, we push that because that's your body, that's your foam, that kind of thing. It's not really providing a whole lot of necessarily flavor or aroma even. I mean, a little bit, and some people, I've definitely heard people say, oh, buckwheat, you get that kind of earthy dirt-like taste. And I totally get where you're coming from there. So this product, I'm excited to get it in people's hands to see how they see if this kind of changes their mind. So basically what we did is we took, like it says there, took our pale buckwheat and our caramel millet recipe and basically just jammed them together. And it creates still genuinely, it's still genuine to that buckwheat, but it gives you a lot more of that sweetbread caramel aromas, and you can utilize it in exactly as pale buckwheat. So yeah, looking forward to people's feedback on that one to see if it kind of combats their problems with pale buckwheat. Cool. So Kale kind of wanted me to talk about, how do we make new products? What are our factors? Kind of what's coming down the pipeline for y'all besides what I've just been talking about here. So as you might have noticed, when I talk about how we make these products, you'll see, oh, I say we did this, but more heat, or we took these procedures and combined them. Yeah, that's really what we're doing, right? We're taking techniques from our current portfolio and, modifying them or combining them or, that kind of stuff. And as I'm sure you're all aware, when we're developing these new products, there's just not a whole lot of literature or information on gluten-free malt or beer, really. So we kind of take available literature and experiences from, what we can get, right, which is typically barley brewing, and kind of say, oh, how can we take that and utilize it for our purposes? And yeah, and there's definitely, a little bit of that collaborative effort there with other brewers, other maltsters who want to share their experiences and their information with us. And so kind of, how do we decide, when we're going to make something new or how we're going to make something new? So, I have 4 factors there, but really it's really just 2 or 3. So market demand and consumer demand, right? So market demand, what I'm referring to there is like, I'm sure you're all aware, the rising trend of, or the not rising, it's already risen, of hazy IPAs, juicy IPAs, those kinds of beers. Those are super popular.
Never heard of them.
Those are the ones that people really, I see those winning medals constantly in gluten-free and not. And the kind of key ingredient, at least from a barley standpoint, and no reason it wouldn't translate to gluten-free, is you use oats in those beers for that haziness in that body. And so, we're looking at developing malted oats as a product that we sell. We sell rolled oats, right? But that's not the same thing. So we kind of look at those trends and see how can we fit into that. And then it really just comes down to, for us, since we're a production malt house, we have to figure out, okay, we really want to make all these awesome products, right? But when and then where are we going to put them, right? So that's kind of a big key factor here. We have a really great complex, but we're still limited on space. Unfortunately, we don't have this big sprawling warehouse. So we have to kind of pick and choose when and how we're going to make new stuff. So let's see.
Hey, Zach.
Yeah, what's up?
On the oats, let me just say that I personally don't do oats at all, and I know a lot of people that are celiac don't do oats.
Right.
They have reactions to the adenine protein.
Right. I knew someone was going to bring that up.
So, any other suggestions for like a hazy IPA other than oats? And a second to that would be, are you on the oats? Are you getting certified gluten-free oats? And then I'm assuming that you are. And then is that just in the regular production facility? How do you do oats? How are you going to do oats?
Right. So yeah, no, it's a great question. And, that was kind of one of my hesitancies going into developing this product is, right, like we all knew, or Twyla at least knew, that, oats, there is potential, right, for people to have reaction to that. But it kind of came down to one of those things where, like, we see people are still asking for it. There is like the demand there. And so we're going to try it and see, we're going to get it to where we want it as a good product that we feel comfortable selling, and we're going to sell it. And, if it kind of turns out to be one of those things where, the demand's just not there, then, right, we won't keep doing it. As far as handling goes, yeah, absolutely. Certified gluten-free. Like we don't mess around when it comes to getting, certified gluten-free products. As far as handling in the, and that we test that before it even comes in the facility, right? So no chance that there's going to be cross contamination there. And then once it is in the facility, we, anytime we switch products on our system, we do a full clean down of the system at each step as the products kind of follow each other, right? So there's no, we're talking about dry cleans and wet cleans. Since we're dedicated gluten-free, we don't have multiple systems, at least not yet. If we get multiple systems, that'll be a factor of expansion, not necessarily like we're trying to keep products separate. Is that kind of what you were looking for?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Thank you.
Cool. Yep.
I have a question actually. I was actually listening to a couple of those Brewlosophy podcasts today, and one of the points that they always mention is barley has been modified over thousands of years, specifically to make beer.
Right.
So a lot of what you've spoken about up until this point has been about after you get the barley, what you guys do with it, the malting, the kilning, mixing and matching and stuff. Are you guys going further back up the chain and working with farmers and trying to get crossbreeding different strains of things and kind of trying to bump up some of the good starches and things like that? Because obviously barley has been bred and it's been refined and crossbred and all the rest specifically for beer over thousands of years, but millet obviously doesn't have that history.
Right. Yeah. No, I think Kayla, I think you actually asked me that question, or someone did, about the chances of crossbreeding and genetics and stuff like that. And my answer for you at this moment is that right now we're more focused on making sure that we can keep our inventory moving and not necessarily picking and choosing different types. We use Prozo, and that's what we've always used as far as a type of millet, because of the recent weather patterns and droughts and stuff. We are definitely more focused on making sure our inventory continues to move and not necessarily getting that far back into it. As far as like making sure the product is up to our specifications, yeah, we're going to keep doing that. We'll try different try a product from different farmers and stuff like that, but right now our kind of only prerogative is making sure that we can keep supplying our customers and making sure that it malts the way we want to. So we're not into that far into the weeds at this time. Yeah, maybe someday. I would like to hope.
Okay.
Yeah, I did ask
Thank
you. I did ask you something like that in our pre-call, and I scratched out the question after we talked. But maybe you could follow on to that. Is interesting because you guys are located kind of in a place where millet is kind of like a cash crop, right? And, but tell us about I think of like the economies of scale for like barley as opposed to millet. It's like barley, they're malting huge malt houses that are malting barley. You guys have this one small place that's doing millet. But even from a farming perspective, are those farmers growing millet just for you, or are they growing it just per bird seed? Right?
It's kind of both. We get our grain from at least probably more than 3 different places, depending on whether it is we're actually kind of dipping into organic millet at times. That's a whole other thing, but we do organic, we do non-organic, we get it from different farms, different facilities. So yeah, it's not just one source. It's a couple of different places, but it's still the same type.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. As far as in-depth supply chain stuff, that's more of a Twyla's game, but that's about, generally speaking, yeah, we're not looking at crossbreeding and stuff at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can I ask something real quick? And you might not be able to answer this question, but
sure.
New Belgium last year came out with a beer called like Torched Earth or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
which, like, you know, some people were pretty upset by. It seemed that they made it intentionally to be disgusting.
Yeah.
And I noticed in all the press releases they used millet and buckwheat malt. And could you say whether or not they acquired those malts from Grouse, or if you guys knew what they were gonna do with it? You can say you can't answer. I'm just kind of curious because a lot of people
Right. Yeah, that was that was when that came out. So okay. Yeah, let me back up. So generally when customers buy from us, most of the time we don't have any idea what they're gonna do with it.
Mhm.
Most of the time. As far as if they acquired it from us, yeah. I don't, as far as I know, they don't buy millet and buckwheat from anyone else. They could. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that they bought it from us. And yeah, we had no idea that they were gonna market it that way, shall we say. And when it came out, we were kind of like, ugh, really? Like, okay. Like, I get, it's kind of one of those things where like, I get the intent. It was well intentioned. I get what they're trying to do. New Belgium's a very climate focused, that kind of thing. And that's great, right? But yeah, it was a little weird.
I wasn't trying to put you on the spot. I just kind of
Yeah.
because a lot of people
No, you're
saw
good.
that.
You're
A lot of
good.
people saw that, and I think, like you said, it seemed well intentioned, but it was a little bit cringy.
It was a little, yeah, it was a little bit cringy. We were kind of like, well, I guess.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they put like smoke tainted hops or something in it too. They was like just a mess. But
Yeah, I didn't buy that beer. I was like, I could, but no, I'm not gonna do that. I don't pay money for beer that's designed to be bad, even if it's for a good cause. Cool. Any other questions at the moment? Cool. Okay. So yeah, so here's kind of a list on what we're looking at doing in the future. This list is kind of not in any particular order of when we're going to get to it. This is just kind of the stuff that we have in the works. So we've had a couple customers ask us for smoked malt. I already have an idea on I already know how we're going to do it. We have equipment that will modify to do it. It's just a question of seeing if that demand continues. And kind of the same thing with acidulated malt. We've had some people ask us for that, and I totally understand why. I have, I know how we'll do it. It's kind of one of those things. Again, with the smoked malt, we're gonna see if that demand continues to appear, and look into that, because people definitely want those smoked beers. They want to use acidulated malt instead of phosphoric acid or lactic acid or whatever it is that they're using. And then I already talked about the malted oats, and custom. So custom malting, I think, is the big one for some people. I think most people here probably saw, oh my gosh, Jason's post about the we did extra light, we did a caramel 50, and we did there's one he didn't mention on there, but we did a roasted red wing, and red wing is our kind of our caramel 40, but we roasted it up to about 120, I think, SRM. And we're kind of, I would love, as much as I would love to just open the floodgates to, hey, we'll make anything you want. I would love to do that, because honestly, it's a lot of fun to make these products. But it kind of goes back to that, storage and feasibility and stuff, scheduling. It's like, as much as I'd love to do that, we can't just drop everything and just make custom malts randomly. That was kind of I'm not going to say it wasn't a one-off. It was kind of, well, yeah, we'll do it, and we'll see how Jason reacts. I think JP probably got some of that. Is he in here? I think I saw him.
He's hiding in the shadows. Are you
Yeah,
here, JP?
I know that they're buds, so I'm sure he got some of that, or they at least talked about it. So that's kind of a doing some different stuff that people request a few times, kind of feeling it out a little bit, and we'll see where that goes.
So can you tell us, like, so custom malting, I'm assuming that is only for like a commercial brewery that wants like a pallet or like a huge
Right.
amount they're buying directly from you.
Yeah.
You're not going to be doing something like for Joe Schmo that wants 5 pounds of something, right?
No, we actually our roaster, I mean it would work, right? Like our roaster has not a 5 pound capacity. It's a roughly 70 pound capacity. So if I just threw 5 pounds in there, like yeah, it would roast, but it would be weird. It's not really meant to be underutilized in that way. And so that means, okay, anything I do, I have to at least make, 50, 60, 70 pounds. I have to at least fill it up most of the way. And, if one person wants this one random roast, it's like, okay, cool. I did it. Here it is. But now this other 60 pounds gets sit on the shelf and go bad for months.
Right.
That's kind of where it's at. Yeah. And when I say custom roasting, what I mean is to elaborate on what that is he told us what he wanted. He was like, I want these 5 things. And we're like, okay, we can do 4 of those things. Here you go. And that's kind of what that looks
Um,
like.
what if I'm just like spitballing here, but because obviously, like you said, you need to produce enough that it won't just sit around and there's interest in it. It'll be worthwhile for you guys. But a lot of folks do buy their grouse malts from Brian at Gluten-Free Homebrewing.
Right.
If
Right.
the club got crazy and did like a vote or something on Facebook to make like one awesome, zero tolerance custom malt or whatever, I'm just curious if there would be any interest if there was enough demand for it through
I
something like
mean,
that.
I would love to do that. That sounds amazing. Ultimately, it's not totally just up to me. That would be something I'd have to pass on to a couple people, up the chain. But I would love to do that. That sounds awesome. So I think like if that's something, as a club you want to do, totally do it. Do that. At least do a poll, right? And then we'll kind of start that conversation, and see what we can do.
I'm not speaking for the club. I have no
Right.
authority at all.
Right. No, but I like the idea.
I'm just
Ship it,
curious.
ship it to Jesse. He's gonna organize the whole thing. Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah.
You spoke up. You spoke up.
Zach, I have a quick question too.
Yeah.
So Jason mentioned at least one of the malts that you did for him. He was pretty high on. Would you ever turn those into one of your basic?
Oh, you mean he used like a lot of it?
Yeah. Would you ever transfer that into your normal production?
Maybe. I mean, I had no idea he was going to use it in that way. I mean, it's awesome that he did because it makes sense when I read the post that he would do that because it is, I think we called it like our extra light or double light or something like that.
Yeah.
Basically, what we did is it's like I would equate it to searing a steak. Like that's what we did. We took the malt in there. It was like, all right, and it's done. So you can use it in high volume. So yeah, I mean, if speaking to what I said about needing volume, if there was any one of them that would make it into the regular lineup, yeah, like that has the potential, right? Because
he's a little special because he posts all of his recipes. So if he posts a recipe with a custom malt,
yeah,
and we want to make it,
yeah,
what do we do now?
No, I absolutely love that he does that. I wish more people did that. It's very cool. But yeah, I get it. It's a little like, oh, I really want to do that. And yeah.
I didn't know if maybe you were just using him as a testing facility and
no, there's nothing official. He's just I don't know. We just did it. I don't have an answer there.
Yep, thanks.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, so this is kind of getting near the end here. So one thing when I was talking about utilizations for our new malts, this is I made a comment about that. So this is what I was kind of alluding to. So, and you guys a lot of you may already know this. So, there's this base malt versus specialty malt kind of terminology that exists, right? So often when someone says specialty, it means, oh, you can't use a lot of it because of whatever reason. Right here, I say, lack of extract, lack of diastic power, whatever it happens to be, protein, that kind of thing. So I want to kind of like just mention that, like, if any of you were kind of following that mentality, like try not to, because thanks to, our products being a little unique compared to barley as far as flavor profile and aroma profile go. And the fact that we have enzymes leveling that playing field of, PPG, whereas like a lot of those specialty malts have lower PPG, ours don't, generally speaking, right? So a great example being Goldfinch, which is kind of if I were to equate it to barley, it'd be like a caramel 10. Doing a Goldfinch smash beer. I think a couple people in here did. I think Brian did one, but yeah, I mean, you can totally do a Goldfinch, all Goldfinch, and I made one. It was delicious. It was great. I had no problems with extract. Actually, if anything, it had a better foam head retention on it than what I'd experienced before. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to put that out there, especially when you're trying. I'm not saying go make 100% dark roast. I mean, if you want to try, I guess, but it's probably not going to taste very good, But when it comes down to these kind of slightly darker malts, don't feel like you need to be restricted.
Talk to JP. He's done a smash of like everything.
I totally will, because there's some malts that I'm like, man, I want to do a smash. I don't know if I should though.
Probably done it. I don't know how we've made it this long in a meeting and not heard from JP. That's very out of the ordinary.
He must
I
be like
think
I think he's
about 10
slinging beers.
Probably, yeah.
I got about 10 pounds of Goldfinch in my garage. Maybe I should look at that.
Absolutely. So what I would say about that is, realize that when it comes to things like, so to continue talking about Goldfinch, Goldfinch is very strong in flavor and aroma, and it's kind of sweet. So that Goldfinch smash, if you're going to do that, definitely bump up your hops from what you would normally do, because otherwise it's going to taste kind of sickly. You'll get a really strong cherry note. So at least that's my experience. So kind of, if you were going to do 30 IBUs before, maybe think about doing 40 to kind of balance that out. Let's see here. Oh, cool. And yeah, thanks for listening to me run my mouth for a while. Anyone have any questions for me?
This isn't much of a question, but it's a comment on the the Goldfinch smash recipe. If you're going to try something like that, I did one with C10 millet, which sounds like very similar.
Right.
And JP and I talked about it on Instagram Live. That's on my Insta account. And I pulled a third of the runnings and treated that with the glucoamylase for 30 minutes before dumping that into the boiling water. So
Okay.
and it finished out at 10-10, and that helped combat the, like it being overly sweet.
Yeah.
And I used like 15 pounds for a 5-gallon recipe. Ended up with like 1065, I think, is my starting gravity.
Okay.
So I mean, next time around I would probably go more for like Peter was saying, he's got like 10 pounds of it. So I go 10 pounds, probably like you said, about 30, 40 IBU. Something more of a noble hop, probably.
Yeah, I'd agree. Bitter, like, kind of that earthy.
Yeah, good. Because like you've got that sweet caramel, and then you kind of want to back that up with that earthy, peaty flavor.
Right.
And that's something I'm actually planning to do as a kit on my store soon.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, no, that's a great suggestion. Because yeah, I mean, I think that one time I did do, or the first time I did that, I think it finished. It just dead stopped at 1020, and I'm like, oof, it's a little high.
Yeah.
Oh well. But
yeah, you definitely got to do something to help it,
yeah.
Or maybe like fungal amylase in the fermenter is another possibility. I haven't tried doing that, but
I've never done anything like that.
Yeah. Getting a really good mash regime in. And I think I've written about that process before too. So anyone that wants to give it a shot, I'd suggest trying that out.
Yeah. And now that since we're kind of talking about it, I would encourage, anyone to go to our blog and kind of check out those various posts. It might answer some questions on various topics, or it might raise some questions, and you can definitely ask me. Kale can provide my email to the group. I don't know how you would do that, if it's in the chat or what, but we can definitely do that, and you can email me with questions. Yeah.
Excellent.
I don't have a question, but I did just want to throw out there. I think I remember from like February or something, going back to the mashing regimes falling and step mashes and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think in February you guys released some more updated info. So you guys should check out the Grouse blog, because I think you guys did do an analysis of both rising and falling. I think it was with Andia and
Right.
Trammel, and
I think that was just the Terminal and Ceramix. I'm not
Okay.
sure. I'll have to look.
I think if I remember right, it hadn't yet done Ceramix, but it was like Ondia Terminal AMG 300 or something like that. But there is more updated information than the 2018 stuff that you guys were talking about earlier.
Right. And we do have, I don't know how helpful it will be, but we have kind of mash regime recommendations we give out to our brewers, and that's kind of, I can also provide that I could post it in the Facebook or to the group or whatever. People are curious as to exactly what we're recommending.
Here's a thought. Are you planning to add, like all the new malts to like Beersmith and those extensions?
Yeah. So I'm actually glad I'm glad you brought that up. So I actually had Beersmith update after I think soon after we released that data on mashing and PBG and stuff. I actually had Beersmith. I think his name is actually Brian for Beersmith, who runs it. I talked to him, and I kind of brought all of our malts together and had him kind of repost it on Beersmith. So actually I now need to talk to him again to get all these new malts on there. So Beersmith, actually Beersmith has, I think it's just a Grouse Malthouse add-on. There's a gluten-free malt add-on, but I think there should be one specific for Grouse now.
Okay.
There should be. I'd have to clarify that, but I think that's what it's called. And actually, I'll have to add these new malts into it because they're not there. You would have to, manually add them in at this point in time.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing, and it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. I did our entire product lineup in the Beersmith file, and I was like, oh my gosh, this took forever.
So wait, you guys just don't manually add them all to your 1997 version of Pro Mash? Maybe that's just me.
Did we even have computers in 1997? I don't remember.
Pro Mash has been around forever.
Any chance you could get them added to Brewfather as well?
Yeah, I'll have to look into that because I actually use Brewfather at home myself, so that's a good suggestion. I'll have to see. I don't know what the avenue is for doing that for them. I imagine it's probably the same as Beersmith, where you just give them the data.
Yeah, I've added a couple of them to Brewfather myself. There was a few of them there. I seem to have thought that because you guys are based in Wellington, they seem to have thought you were based in New Zealand, I think, originally. So
yeah,
a lot
Wellington,
of the kind of
Colorado.
default ones were saying, a lot of the default ones were saying it was New Zealand, but I added a couple of more ones myself. I use them, so it's good.
Yeah, and if there's I don't know all of the brewing apps, but I mean, if we could, I don't know where I would look if we could get a poll. Maybe there's a poll going where what are the most popular ones people use, besides Beersmith. I could look into trying to get all our malts added to all of those. I think that would be, I'm assuming that would be helpful for everyone. So I don't know, figure that out.
Just on your website, I'm on your website now as we're speaking. and I can't see where you post your recipes. I think the only one that I can see is a porter recipe.
Right. So we don't I don't actively post all the recipes on our blog. That was kind of just the one we wanted to highlight.
Okay.
But you know, it's not like I've done a bunch of recipes, at least a dozen or more. And so I didn't plan on posting all of them, but they're not like, you know, it's not like it's a secret or anything like that. I'm more than willing to share anything, any recipe I've written, or if you have a question about a style, I could do a recipe and kind of, so that kind of, you know, is a starting point for you. But if you're curious about any particular recipes, I don't know, would it be helpful if I post them in the Facebook group, the Zero Tolerance group? I'm not sure what that would look like.
Yeah. So let me take that one. So we have yeah, if you want to post anything like a link to your blog post or anything like that, so people are aware. I don't know if they aren't subscribing to that, they probably don't see those. I know that I probably wouldn't
Right.
look at them otherwise. So if you have something interesting that you want to post to the Facebook group, that's fine.
Yeah.
And we're such a small niche, even with, I would
Yeah.
refer to it as like advertising light, right? What I mean by that is
Yeah.
like I'm okay with, I think Stuart and I and the people that run the are the admins for the Zero Tolerance at this point. It's not like we have 30,000 members that are posting like, you know, links to their Etsy stores or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm we're pretty lax on that stuff right now because it's such a small group.
There is a file tab, right? I could just
Yeah.
start. Could we do that somehow? Add
Yeah,
recipes?
totally. Yeah. Or the other thing is if you wanted to do not Facebook, then Stuart's wiki is where that can reside.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So he has links to numerous different recipes that are either Homebrew Talk links, Facebook thread links, Brewer's Friend. I don't know if you can do that for Beersmith. I don't use that. I use Brewer's Friend. I don't know about the other apps as well,
Right.
but we have those linked in the wiki as well.
Cool. And yeah, so yeah, oh, and if you have any questions about a recipe using our ingredients, feel free to, you know, email me or whatever. I'm
Yeah, cool.
more than
No,
willing to help you out.
I didn't even know that you guys posted recipes, so I just seen the porter one there. So
Yeah. And you know, that's, so I do want to make it known that that is primarily in the context of you know, our ingredients, right? Like I could, as far as using you know, other grains, sorghum and the like, I don't know.
In Europe, I can only get your ingredients. I can't get any of them.
Okay.
So.
All right.
It's a closed market, and you guys own it.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So I just found on Beersmith, when you go to your add-ons, scroll down and you can find Grouse add-ons, and I think it's 27 grains.
Okay.
So
that should be
that's
it.
where
Yeah.
they put it. Maybe they should add gluten-free to that descriptor just so that,
Right.
because I mean, you know, that's like naturally where you think to look.
Yeah, yeah, that's a little, it's not quite as obvious. Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
But thank you for that, because now I've
Absolutely.
added, I mean, at least have more of your stuff in here now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I believe if you download the gluten-free add-on, that's ours. So I would encourage you to, if you have the gluten-free grain add-on from Beersmith, to delete, because I think it gets Eckert and all those and some of the other maltsters in there, like as a pack,
Right.
like package or whatever. I would encourage you to delete our stuff from that and then re-download the add-on that's Grouse, because the information might change a little bit.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Cool. Anyone have any other questions for me?
Who's the dog?
Her name is Cabernet, and I'm sorry I changed my name midway through. You kept mentioning JP. I'm Alicia. I signed in under my husband's Zoom.
Oh, I was about to say you don't look like JP Beerley. Oh my gosh. Thank you for joining.
So thank you for having me, and this is Cabernet.
Awesome.
So awesome. Any other last questions for Zach?
Do you guys have a new plan for 2022 that's gonna blow our minds and get us excited?
Blow your minds. Let's see. Probably not. I know we are looking at permitting and building a second warehouse, so that's pretty awesome. Not exactly any direct immediate implications for you, but long term, that kind of will allow, the more we are able to expand, the more likely we are able to provide you with new stuff. So, yeah.
What are you excited about for 2022?
What?
What are you excited about for 2022?
What am I excited for? Oh, geez, man. I don't know. There's a lot of facility stuff that is being updated and upgraded that I'm particularly excited about. That'll make cleaning easier. So that's cool. Malting, how brewing is mostly cleaning, right? Well, malting is kind of the same. So
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
If we would have known that, we would have never got into malting or brewing, right? God.
Oh, I knew going in, and I'm just like, yeah, I guess it's fine.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
We're just a little past the hour. So any last ones? Any last ones? No, everybody. I know it's like 4 o'clock, which is really close to 5 o'clock
Like 10
in
minutes
Pacific
or
time zone. So, and it's
As soon as he
Saturday,
pulls
and
the potatoes off, I'm gonna start the shrimp.
oh yeah, and so let me mute that. Okay, so hey Zach, thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining
Yeah.
the club meeting and going over those new malts. Those are awesome. I think almost all of those should be available at glutenfreehomebrewing.com. I'm not sure if they're available for homebrewers anywhere else. For people like Jesse and Bob, they are special and they can order huge pallets full of those stuff.
Yeah, Jesse, I also just realized you're wearing a grouse hat. I kept looking at it and I'm just like, that looks sort of familiar, but I can't quite tell what it is. And then I stopped and started staring at you all creepy like, I'm like, oh shit, he's wearing a grouse hat.
Just repping it.
Nice, love it.
That's awesome. Oh, and one last thing is like, I know we did a t-shirt, zero tolerance t-shirt thing last year. We're gonna maybe try to do that again in the near future. So anyhow, cool. Thank you so much to everyone for joining. This is a great crowd. We got people from all over the world to show up, and we're gonna do this again at the end of March. So I will put that out in a little bit of time closer to that meeting. And we'll be able to talk again. And thank you so much. And everyone enjoy your rest of your Saturday and even Sunday morning for our buddy Owen.
Yes. Thanks,
Cheers.
Zach.
Cheers. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.